Children, children, get on board. Children, children, get on board. Children, children, let's fight for human rights. I hear those mobs howling and coming around the square. Like Crystal's freedom fighters, but we're gonna meet them there. Get on board, children, children, get on board. Children, children, get on board. Children, children, let's fight for human rights. Well, we're freedom fighters, that we may go to jail.
As a kid, growing up in Little Rock, I was aware that my civil rights practically were non-existent. The opportunity to go to Central had a lot of meaning for me in that regard. So I was more than willing to be a volunteer. Obviously, we couldn't get in. I mean, that day the governor had called out the National Guard with the directions to keep us out of school. They were close, I mean, within touching distance. That's the one thing I remember, a great deal of fear. I understood that what we were doing was important, it was a valuable thing to do, but I was also aware that what we were doing would not change things that much. It would not end racism overnight. After that one school year, 57-58, the governor of Arkansas closed down all public high schools in Little Rock. His decision was that if he couldn't have segregated schools, he wouldn't have any schools.
I took education pretty seriously anyway, but once you learn what your father has gone through, then you take it even more seriously. And the fact that I could go to any school I wanted to, and in fact, after my sophomore year in high school, I decided I wanted to go to a different high school. I just went to the high school and signed myself up. You know, you think, oh, this is a different world for me. I think he gets that there's something very special about his papa.
It was part of the Little Rock Nine. I have the Little Rock Nine book. At the beginning, it was kind of scary. The law was that black students could not be with white students. If I couldn't go to school, I would have to work at home. But I wouldn't know what to do.
His perception of race and racial relations might be very different just based on how, you know, he was born in 2003. He'll think it's so odd that they had this notion of segregation. I would hope. We'll see.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, why don't you hold on?
We haven't had the kind of change even now that I would like to see. And I think the reason for that is that for a very, very long time in this country's history, we have focused on maintaining walls of separation between people based on racial group membership. Until we confront that history and decide that we're going to alter it, we're not going to see real progress. So it was possible to have that Rodney King episode simply because you have all this underlying stuff bubbling up, unattended, and it raises its head. It raised its head more recently with the Jena 6 down in Louisiana. And a lot of people were shocked that such a thing could happen, quote, in these times. I was not shocked, simply because I knew and understood that those forces of racism are strong. What Obama represents is an opportunity for this country to move beyond those racist ideas, that ideological point of view.
Once you learn what people who look like me had to go through to vote, absolutely, you vote every time you're supposed to vote. So voting for Barack Obama was just an amazing feeling that I had the opportunity, not just because he was an African American, but because he was smart. Would you have voted for Obama if he had not been, if he had had some radical ideas?
No, obviously not. See, it has nothing to do with race. You know, there are some black people who simply don't qualify. He's President Obama. And people will look at him in many, many different ways. Some will see him as an American, some will see him as African American.
As a kid growing up, people ask my sister and I a lot, and still do, just happened to be a couple weeks ago. They look at me and they say, "What are you? What's your ethnic background?" And my response and my sister's response usually is, "I'm an American."
Race is artificial. It has no meaning whatsoever, has no scientific basis in fact. It's contrived. Today, people speak proudly about their, quote, racial heritage. It's all nonsense, absolute nonsense. I think at some point, eventually, we're going to have to think beyond race. We can't yet because we're so mired in it, but at some point, if we are to be successful as a country, we have to.
3 generations of the Roberts family are talking there about what today and, of course, tomorrow means to them.
Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight. Come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands up.
Even without a soundtrack from Bruce Springsteen, it would be hard to escape the enthusiasm which has gripped Washington on the eve of Barack Obama's inauguration. But once in office, the nation's first African-American president will immediately confront a very dangerous combination: overwhelming challenges and great expectations. For the past 2 weeks, we've asked people from around the world to share their advice with the future leader of this country. Tonight, in the last of our notes to President Obama, famed poet and author Maya Angelou has words for the new president and for the American people.
I am Maya Angelou. I am a poet. What I'm going to say to you now, however, is not a poem. It doesn't pretend to be. These are ruminations or reflections upon the advent of President Barack Obama. We needed him. We, the race, needed him. We, the American population, we needed him. Banks and automobile companies and insurance companies needed him. The stock markets in Japan and Germany, in France, in Britain, in China, in New York City, needed him. And out of that great need, I believe, he came, Barack Obama, facing forward, including everyone, excluding no one. He came with some charm, not enough to make him seem glib. But what he did is he brought something we cannot live without, and that is hope. He brought a possibility that we might really see ourselves as we really are, a great country. I believe in the secret part of every heart of an American, there is the desire to belong to a great country. President-elect Obama offers us the chance to have a great president with whom we can identify, not as a black person, not even as a male, but really as an American citizen who will speak for the voiceless, who will not forget the poor black or the poor white, who will remember the out-of-work Asian and the dislocated Spanish-speaking person. It is said, to whom much is given, from them much will be expected. I believe we have been given a great president. I believe he needs us probably more even than we needed him. I believe that each of us, each American, has got to pay back or pay it forward. I think each of us has got to do something to help us to become more than what James Baldwin called these yet to be United States. I think our new president deserves all our help. I believe we, Americans, deserve the most we can get. I believe we are a great people, and I believe we will have a chance to show it. I will be working alongside, being of use. I hope to see you being of use. I am Maya Angelou, poet, American, I'm happy to say, a citizen. Thank you.